Okay, in this video we're checking out another FPV goggle. This is a box style goggle targeted towards first timers or beginners. And I think that if you are someone who has used some goggles that are, say, over $50, then this one is definitely probably not going to be for you. This is going to be more for your kids or someone just starting out with a really low budget. This is coming at a $33 price point. It is actually slimmer and lighter than the VR006 goggles, and this is was previously the lowest budget version of the box goggles before. Very similar in features. Surprisingly, actually, right now, the VR006 goggles are even cheaper. They're $26. If you're wondering, there's no DVR in this. Very small screens on these guys. It's a 2.7-inch screen here. They got this Fresnel lens here magnifies the screen to make it a little bit bigger. It's got a very narrow profile, as you can see, compared to the VR006 goggles. Not as tall. And I'll show you both screens here in a second. The screen is not adjustable, so it's not adjustable focus. So if you are an older person that has trouble focusing on these small screens here, without the ability to adjust the lens, this style of goggle is probably not going to be for you. It's going to be better suited to someone younger that doesn't necessarily need the ability to adjust the focus. Now, you could probably take it apart and hack this in some way to make the focus adjustable, but that's beyond the scope of this video. If someone is interested in something like that, let me know in the comments below, and if there's enough interest, I may do a video on modding this. But yeah, it's pretty basic. Charges via micro USB right here. This does have a bigger battery. It's a 1000 milliamp hour 1S battery inside here versus the 500 milliamp hour battery inside the VR006 goggles, so you do get a longer power runtime. And then the 005s have these two antenna connections. You do get two of these whip antennas here that are included, and I just tested it just with the included equipment. You can, of course, upgrade to a more expensive antenna, but if you're buying a $32 goggle, why are you spending $20 on an antenna? Yeah, so what you're going to see is basically performance based on the included equipment. Of course, you can always get more expensive antennas and get better performance, but kind of see that's not much point in that. The 006 goggles, I think when they first came out, they had this same setup with two antenna connections, but now they only come with one. And these are both connected to the same receiver, so it's not a dual diversity receiver, it's a single receiver inside here. And both of these SMA, I guess these are actually RP-SMA antenna connections, are going to the same receiver. So the way I set this up is I had one antenna vertical like this, and then the other one, since you could bend it, I actually had it oriented at 90 degrees like this. So they're basically, one was up and then one was horizontal. That seemed to give me the best reception. But yeah, obviously it's going to depend a lot on your environment and everything. But yeah, that's what I would recommend if you happen to get this. It is pretty light, as you can see. It's actually a lot lighter than the 06. It's 145 grams for this, 165 grams for the 06, so it does shave a bit of weight if weight is a big concern. Now, the angle on the I guess the front of the goggle here, you can see where it meets your face. It's a very shallow angle here, and so if you compare that to the 006 goggles, this shape here fits my face pretty good. It's a little bit of a deeper angle. If you compare it side by side here, you can kind of see the difference. And also the foam is different. It's like this cloth foam, and it's a lot thinner versus this other. I don't think it's got a cloth covering. It's just this foam is a little bit thicker. So if you have a like for me, for example, when I was putting this on my face, I got a lot of leakage here on both sides because it wasn't touching my face, and also through the nose area, which, as you can see, is pretty, it's fairly large there. I know there's a lot of people complaining about too small of a nose area on this. So you can see it's think it's somewhat bigger, at least in this part here above. You see that there's a section here that's trying to cut or block the light, but then some people complain that this is actually hitting their nose, so they actually got rid of that here. You see, there's nothing like that here, and plus it's a much narrower profile, so you can't really put anything that's going to block the screen. Okay, so quick rundown of the buttons here. You got a power on button, scanning button, and also that's for your menus, and then you have a band and channel button to search for your bands and channels. If you long press the S button here, that actually goes into actually searches or scans the band for the frequency that you're transmitting on. So I already plugged in something. Go ahead and power this on. You don't have to hold the button down as long as you do for the 06 goggles. So turn it on, it's just a couple seconds, and there we have an image. And the image is kind of set further back in the goggle than on the 06. It looks a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to show you. And also the image is a bit dark in my opinion. I did turn up the brightness. It may need perhaps a little bit less contrast. As you can see, you can't really make out the lines over here. It's kind of blown out there, so let me just go in there and readjust this. I was applying this outside, so I had to adjust the settings here. So the brightness is at 70, contrast is at 60, so that might be too much. So if we'll take the contrast down, that might help with the overexposed areas. So you're going to have to play with this if you do use this in different situations. And okay, now we're out of there. That's a little bit better, but you know, as you can see, it's a low resolution image. So they're saying it's 960 by 240, but it's actually like 320 by 240. It's a 4x3 goggle. And then in the upper left, you see the bars there for the signal strength, and then you can kind of see, yeah, it's hard to make out, at the very top, you see there next to the signal strength, it shows B1, and then the frequency of 5740, that's the frequency and the band. So this is actually Fat Shark 1, but for some reason they're calling it B1. So you have to look at the chart. It doesn't correspond exactly with what you typically know of as A band, B band, etc. Fat Shark has happened to be on B, and then Race Band is on, I believe, E, and I think the A band is actually the E band, so keep that in mind. And then your power on time there is next to that. It says running at 1 minute and 55 seconds there, and at the far right is your battery level, and that's everything that's on the OSD that's on the goggle. And then the OSD that's on the bottom, there's actually from the drone, it's the Betaflight OSD. Alright, just going to give you a quick comparison to the 06 goggles. Go ahead and turn this on. You do have to hold the button down for a long time. There we go. And you can see here now this little nose piece kind of gets in the way. But the image looks a lot taller and not as wide. The screen does compared to the 005 goggles, and those just seem to be set back a little bit further. And actually, I'm not tuned to the correct channel on this one. Okay, so there's the image on the VR006 goggles. It's definitely a lot brighter, as you can see. The contrast issues are still kind of there. Yeah, but off in the distance here, you can see it further back. The wide dynamic range of the camera is more apparent in this screen. And if you bring in the, you can see here, this is the image from the 005 goggles, and the background here is not as bright as you can see in the 06 goggles. So that's one of the downsides, I think, of this goggle, is that the screen could be brighter, and it's not as bright as I would rather see this thing. See, there's a definite difference there. And I think the 06 screen is more 4:3 looking. As you can see, it's kind of the aspect ratio is a little bit taller. It's got a taller vertical field of view there, and then it looks a lot more narrow on the 005. There's kind of a bluish tint to the image on the screen as well. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So yes, I personally like the 006 image better, and yeah, that definitely looks better to me. It just looks more natural, and this image here just looks, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly where that color tint is coming from either. Yeah, so anyway, so that's what the image looks like. I'm gonna show you what the reception looks like on this as well. It's okay. I think it's pretty similar to the 006, and I will show it. So I basically put a camera in here to record the screen of me flying at the park. It's similar to the 006, and you're going to see the DVR recording from my Fat Shark goggles with the Owl RX. That's probably going to look a little bit better, but the receiver isn't bad. I don't think if you're just flying at the park like I am, this is going to be fine for that. But if you're looking for high performance, long distance, lots of range, you should ask yourself why you're spending $30 on a pair of goggles. You should probably be spending a lot more than that if those are the kind of features you're looking for. This is really for beginners starting out, low budget, that kind of thing. It'll get you by, but it's definitely not what I would consider anything close to the best in the market. Anyway, so that's going to do it for this video. Put a link in the description if you guys want to check this one out. It's pretty basic. It'll get you started, and yeah, there's a lot of limitations, in terms of the focus and maybe the fit. You might have to do some modifications, but of course, when you're spending very little money, those are the kind of things, those are the trade-offs you have to consider when you're getting into FPV. So if you want to have a better experience, I would suggest spending maybe $20–30 more, getting like the VR-D3s. I like those a lot. Those are pretty good. It's kind of a DVR. It has actually a true diversity receiver, and a pretty nice screen. I have a video in that one as well, and I'll put a link to those down in the description, so if you guys want to check it out. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.